What we're going to cover now, team, is strategic BD. So the next sort of hour and 15 minutes, I want to talk about high-level BD in the business. I'm going to talk about a couple of different layers of BD that we need to have running in the business. But essentially, like, to set the scene for today's session, we want to have both daily BD running in the business and strategic business development running in the business. So we want to be making sure that, like, our growth no longer solely relies on just chasing leads and following up calls all the time. We want to start winning work by design. I'll share a story in a second about our journey with being more strategic with business development, but we found that by being more strategic, the quality of our clients improved. So when you're doing a lot of, like, we obviously teach like the LinkedIn outreach strategy, messaging, phone calling, that sort of stuff. And I'll talk about that in a second because it does fit into the whole BD element. But the quality of your client's going to go up because, as you'll see in a second, we're going to get really hyper-specific on who those clients are that you actually want to work with. And the quality of your client actually improves. BD becomes predictable, you gain access to better rooms. The better rooms you're in, the better quality of clients that we can be working with. And we're going to talk a bit about positioning too, in terms of elevating your positioning in the market and attracting better quality clients, but also obviously team and staff as well. So that's kind of what we're going to cover today, team. In terms of the 5 big ideas, we're going to not necessarily go back to basics, but I want to just reset with the room your ideal client. I think a lot of us get really distracted about opportunities coming in the door and saying yes to kind of all the things that come through. Let's get really specific. If we're going to go to all this effort to get in the right rooms, chase the right people, we have to know who that person is or who that ideal client avatar is. We're going to talk about getting in the right room, and I'll share some stories of our journey. We're going to talk about your positioning in the market. We're going to talk a little bit about referral partnerships and who you can leverage that you already know in the industry to start to tip you into the right rooms. And we're going to talk a bit about collaboration. Let's do this. In terms of BD or strategic business development, like, you've got kind of 2 tiers or 2 layers to your business development. So we obviously teach LinkedIn outreach, sell by chat, those sorts of things. If you're new to Boardroom and don't know what that is, come and have a chat. But we teach a couple of strategies around building a consistent outreach strategy into your business. So at the base level, we've got, I'm going to try and write slower so you can all read it. So consistent lead gen, which is obviously, just looking at my notes, you've got LinkedIn, which is like your sell by chat on LinkedIn. You've got like your daily connection requests. You've also got your LinkedIn marketing that you're doing. And again, if you're new to our world, we've got trainings on all of these sorts of things. And then you've got also just like phone calls and the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So we encourage everyone in Boardroom to have like a consistent daily and weekly outreach in your business. So you're doing sell by chat on LinkedIn, daily connection requests, reaching out to people, LinkedIn marketing. All of those things are the things that we're doing on a daily and weekly basis to generate leads and interest in your business. We've then got what we're going to cover today, which is strategic BD. So, and absolutely, the stuff that we're doing on a daily basis will feed your strategic BD. But what we're going to cover today is we want to have both elements working well in your business. So we want to have, you doing sell by chat or having a VA or an admin person doing like the daily stuff that's going to keep the momentum building, and then build that layer into your business so that you as the founder can focus on more of the strategic stuff, which we're going to cover today. So this is like, the strategic stuff is more the longer term, slower burn stuff. So our journey when we were in civil, land subdivision, we really wanted to get in with Mirvac as a tier 1 developer. And we chipped away at that relationship for 2 years in terms of like, we identified who the development managers were in the Brisbane office. We knew that they had this subdivision coming up in Greenbank. And we spent a bunch of time and a bunch of resources, a bunch of money being really strategic about who they were, what are their pain points, what are they frustrated with in terms of their current client, current consultant base, who are they, can we invite them to the footy, what rooms are they in, all that sort of stuff. So we did a lot of like strategic thinking at a director and BD level on how to get into that room. And so we chipped away at that relationship for 2 years. And not all of these things bear fruit right away, but we got onto that project. We got awarded as the civil lead, and that turned into they would be still working on that project. It was a 15-year project. It was between $2 and $4 million a year in consulting fees, but that was an example of like strategic business development in terms of just identifying who those people are, chipping away at that relationship, finding out their frustrations and their pain points, getting in the right rooms, getting the right referrals from town planners and surveyors to get an opportunity to bid on that project. So I guess I just wanted to highlight that from the start in terms of, as a consulting business, we need to have that daily consistent lead gen, which we won't talk about today, but that does sometimes feed the strategic piece. But today I want to really focus with you on how do we get more strategic about the BD that we're doing in our business. All right, let's do this. Any questions, team 2, hand up, and I'll do my best to answer it. So what I want to do now is we're going to go through 5 kind of big picture ideas, and we're going to do some work at individual work with the tables and that sort of thing. But I want to, like I said, almost go back to basics in terms of thinking about your ideal client. So when it comes to strategic BD, like we didn't just chase anyone. Like we wanted to work with Mirvac. We knew they had a really big project in the pipeline. So we had to get hyper specific about who that person was, their pain points, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, strategic BD starts with like clarity first, and then we can execute against that plan. Like I said before, most consultancy owners are a bit too open, too flexible, and willing to take on almost any work. I want us to be different. I want us to be hyper-specific, hyper-strategic about the people that we're investing our time into chasing. You don't go to the next level by doing ad hoc BD. You grow by being more selective, as a few of you have found. We'll do some work in a second, but ideal clients are defined by behaviour, values and expectations, not just sector and size. So you can have the best client in the world. You could have a client on a really big long-term project, but they could be the worst to deal with. They chip away at you from a variation point of view. They don't pay your fees on time, all those sorts of things. So I want you to get really specific about who that ideal client or clients are. And so you're getting hyper clear on who you want to work with is a starting point. It's like if you have the worst strategy in the world and you just kind of charge ahead with it, and you could be on a complete different tangent. But if we get really clear on who we're pursuing and wanting to work with, then we can just chip away at that. So we're laying good foundations for the start of our strategic BD. So pages 9 and 10 of the workbook, I just want you to think about. So most of you will have a couple of ideal clients. I just want you to spend some time now thinking about, like if you use the Mirvac example that I just gave, like who is that one ideal client that you really want to work with? And so if we work through pages 9 and 10, who do you want to work with over the next 12 months? Why them specifically? 2, which clients do I never want to work with again, even if they pay well? What made those relationships painful or unprofitable? 3, what behaviours, values and expectations do my best clients consistently demonstrate? 4, worst clients, you kind of get the picture. And then page 10 too, in terms of just identifying who those ideal clients are. So I'll probably give you 5 minutes to work through this, team, but just slow down, take the time and space. If you can't immediately identify, 2 DMs in Mirvac in the Brisbane office like we did, just start bigger picture in terms of like a ideal client avatar that you kind of want to work with, and then we can filter down from there. Does that make sense, team? Yeah. All right, so 5 minutes. Ready to go. All right, let's keep moving, team. If there's any catch up we can do in the lunch break. Okay, so we've talked about big idea 1, which is your ideal client. Second big idea I want to talk about is getting in the right room. I'll talk about some examples in a second, but again, we've got to really shift our mindset to this is not just stuff that we smash out. Again, that's why I gave you the distinction before. Like with sell by chat on LinkedIn or reach out phone calls and that sort of thing, we can spend an hour one day just kind of calling as many people as we can, or we can spend half an hour each morning doing like messages on LinkedIn and that sort of stuff. This work it's just more strategic. It's more stopping, thinking about which is the right room to get in. Like we're all super time poor. Again, it's thinking about where are my clients, what rooms are they in, and how do I get into those rooms? So again, these strategic clients don't just appear because we're doing a whole bunch of daily work. They appear because we're in the right rooms and in the right environments. I kind of covered that. It's about adjacency, not ad hoc BD activity. Again, the more strategic we can be and get in the right rooms, the more we can unlock our future clients. I want to create a distinction. Rooms are not networking events. Like if we think that we're going to a networking event and think that we're going to get clients, again, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but every networking event I ever went to, we even were on some of the committees and you get like the attendee list of who's going to go and you'd highlight the people that you really wanted to talk to. And then you get to the event and then like the client would be here and their entire consultant team that are already working with them were just hovering around them like flies because they didn't want any other consultant. Everyone knows what your networking event's for, which is to target new clients. So you'd have Mr. and Mrs. Client and their entire consultant team swarming around them, another target client here, their entire consultant team swarming around them. We just found networking events a waste of time. So we need more proximity to people in the right room. So some examples of rooms that we got into, like committees. So we got onto the UDIA committees, the Property Council of Australia committees. Again, I'm just using examples because we're in the land sub space. Advisory panels, investment groups. So you think about like investor groups who get together and talk about like the future investment of X, Y, and Z. Developer client circles, referral networks, and those trusted project ecosystems. So we spent a bunch of time going, and this is not the Mirvac example, but a bunch of different examples, where are our ideal clients hanging out? And so we identified, UDIA committees, Property Council of Australia committees, yes, to a certain extent, but a little bit less like Engineers Australia and that sort of thing. And so we just said, all right, one director's going to go and apply. And sometimes it takes 6 months to 12 months to get on those panels or get on those committees. So you've got to be strategic about where you're going to invest your time. But getting into, like particularly for us, the UDIA was huge because you get on the committee and you're one of the committee members. You're surrounded by developers, local councillors, other consultants who are all there for that same reason, to be strategic. So second element that I want you to think about is, so page 12, I want you to think about rooms. Which rooms, so we've done a bit of work identifying your ideal client now, which rooms are they in? And again, this is stopping, thinking, being a bit more strategic. What rooms are they already in that you're currently not? How do you get inside those rooms? Is it an application? Is it an invite? Is it talking to your network? Who do you already know that could help you gain access to those rooms? And just think about a bit of an action plan there in terms of 3 or 4 steps to go, all right, this is the room that my clients are in. How am I going to get in there? Make sense, team? This is stretching you a bit and you might not have the answers all in this session, but it's just stretching you to think a bit differently about business development. All right, so I'll give you 3 minutes or 4 minutes to work on this. All right, let's keep going. So we've talked about being in the right room or getting into the right room. And again, we're going to cover 5 strategies with BD team. Some of this stuff may not apply to you. Like I was just having a chat to Steve and Vanessa around they can't work out which rooms their clients are in. And maybe your clients don't have a specific room or anything like that they hang out, or there was a good suggestion about making the room that they come into. I kind of like that. But so some of this stuff won't apply. So just take it with a grain of salt. There'll be 3 or 4 strategies that will work for your business. All right, let's talk positioning. So you don't win elite clients with average positioning. Honestly, as part of our pursuit of Mirvac, I'll keep using it as an example. We looked at our business and just said, well, you know, they were using, like back then it was the Hiders and the Cardnos and that sort of stuff in terms of their consultant team. And they're like, why would they choose us? We're like this kind of, we're in Toowong, we had this pretty shitty logo and pretty shitty positioning and branding and that sort of stuff. So we had to do a lot of work on our positioning and branding in the marketplace. That included, you know, cap statement, logo. We did a launch party for our new brand. Moved into the city, got a nicer office, all those sorts of things. So we had to be quite strategic about like, why would Mirvac want to work with us when they're so used to like the big tier one kind of corporate consultancy. So we had to do a lot of work on our positioning to even get a foot in the door to for them to say yes to even let us tender on the project. So you don't win elite clients with average positioning. If you want higher quality work, you must look, sound and behave like the level you're trying to access. So if you're used to working with tier 3 developers and you want to attract a tier 1 developer or a tier 3 to tier 1 client, you have to look and sound and act like the type of consultant that those clients would choose to work with. Elite clients don't respond to generalists, scrappy messaging or unclear positioning. So we're going to do some work in a second on getting crystal clear on your ideal client and speak only to their pain points, their risks and their aspirations. Obviously we can't do this right now, but have a think about like your website, your cap statement, and your marketing, like the content that you're putting out on LinkedIn or the things that you're talking about. Does it reflect the positioning that you want to reflect in the marketplace? Be deliberate about how you talk about your work, outcomes and impact. And these are things like, thought leadership, speaking at industry events, again, some of the stuff we've talked about, panels, committees, advisory forums and that sort of thing. So really thinking about doing a critical assessment of your current positioning and would that positioning attract the calibre of client that you want to attract, and what are some things that we can work on over the next sort of 6 to 12 months to elevate your positioning in the market. So again, this is designed to get you thinking. You're not going to, today's ideas and thinking and strategizing, so like I said, it took us 2 years to get from identifying Mirvac as a target to actually winning the project. So this is not a short-term play. So the stuff that we're doing today is more about just getting you thinking a little bit differently and what are some strategies that we can work on over the next 6 to 12 months. So page 14, I want you to honestly assess your current positioning in the market. 1 being not awesome, 10 being we're amazing. 2, now that you're clear on your ideal client, would your current positioning attract that calibre of client? 3, what are you going to do to upgrade? And 4 is an action plan. All right, ready, set, go. All right, well, we'll leave some time at the end, team, for some Q&A and questions and more talking. But it's nice to hear you all talking. All right, 2 big ideas to finish off. Let's talk about referral partnerships. So I've talked about this a bit, but like referral partnerships were huge for us. So again, not the Mirvac example, but in general for us, land subdivision space, we looked at who was upstream of us in terms of who got appointed on projects first. So for us, land subdivision space was always typically town planner first, then usually surveyor, and then like civil structural consultants. So we spent a bunch of time, again, being strategic, looking at who were the top 3 or 4 town planning firms in Brizzy. So we looked at Walters, Walter Consulting, Urbis, bunch of others, and just built referral relationships. So for us, it was about leveraging your existing network. Who can get you into those right rooms? You know, strategic introductions, warm referrals work way better, as you know, than cold outreach. Like you can cold call a DM at Mirvac 800 times, but if you get an intro from a town planner they're already working with to say, hey, you should chat to these guys, they're great at what they do, we're working with them on other projects, instantly you've got an opportunity to get in the door or into that room. So we didn't have any kind of kickback relationship fee or anything like that. If you tip us into work, we'll give you X of the fees or anything like that. You can do that. We just didn't really, when we started to talk to the likes of Walters and Urbis and that sort of stuff, it wasn't really necessary. It was just like, hey, we can tip you into work, you can tip us into work, and it was just kind of a win-win for all parties. So, but you can do whatever you want in terms of referral partnerships. So The big thing here is team, like intentionally building like these win-win elements. You have to be good at what you do. Like you have to be, if someone's going to tip you into work, they have to know you, like you, trust you, have seen you working on other projects, know that when they tip you into work with their client, it's their word of mouth. And so that means a lot. So you obviously have to be good at what you do and get good outcomes. But it was huge for us in terms of opening doors. Again, when we were doing research about pockets of land or clients that we wanted to get into, for us it was easy to go and search on the approvals, like preliminary approvals for Brisbane City Council show who the town planner is, who lodged the application. It was easy for us to do the research and kind of go, all right, so they're working with that client. We can go and have a chat to them about, hey, we'd love to get in the door with that particular client. Do you think you can do us an intro and that sort of thing? So again, being strategic and finding out ways to do the research about who you already know has a relationship with that client that can tip you into that relationship is super powerful. So again, I want you to think about page 16. Who do you already know that could help you gain access to the right rooms? Who do you know that could introduce you to ideal clients? Who do you know that would be open to building strategic referral partnerships? Ready, set, go. Again, for us, like collaboration of consultancies coming together was really good for us. Especially when we were smaller, we were civil, structural and enviro for ages. So collaborating again with town planners, surveyors, geotechs, who else? That's probably it in terms of like, there was a group of us of maybe 5 or 6 businesses that just allowed us to, particularly when we were smaller, to appear bigger. So we could joint tender on projects. For a while there, we actually set up not a separate entity, but like actually a tendering entity that we could, I can't remember what it was called, but it just had like all the different directors, all the different businesses under the one banner, and we could actually bid on projects and just made us seem a whole lot bigger. So like collaboration worked really well for us. So yeah, sometimes the fastest way forward is working with the right people, not kind of going alone. Like I said, strategic collaboration allows you to look bigger, bid on bigger projects, access to bigger work, that sort of thing. And particularly like win projects that you couldn't actually win as a solo, as your particular business. Yeah, I just wanted to put in there that like collaboration can be a very smart positioning move. Like you don't have to think it's desperation or you don't have to feel like you're appearing bigger than you actually are. It's actually quite smart when you, particularly us, we looked at our tier 1 clients and like they just want everything like under the one roof, in the one house. So if we can give that to them through a collaboration of businesses, that just worked for us.
How does that entity work? When you say a collaboration entity,
it was kind of like a principal consultant, sub-consultant kind of arrangement. So we had ecologists, we had a whole bunch of other people. So if it was like an ecology-led project, the ecologist business would go as the lead consultant and we would all be subbies under or through them, sorry. If it was a civil-led project, same thing. So I can't remember how all the insurance stuff worked. I think we all had to take out some bigger premiums to make sure that the principal contractor could cover all the subbies and that sort of stuff, just depending on what project we were bidding on, what the client wanted and needed and that sort of stuff. But it worked pretty well. Like we got on some big projects.
Did you have a separate name that you went out?
We did. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was something super cool. Anyway, we did, yes. We had a separate entity.
The appearance of a joint venture, but not actually.
Correct. Yeah. So that worked. As long as it was all legal, all above board. We just had to whoever was the primary lead on the project just went as the principal consultant and we were subbies. So, but happy to field questions about that too in a sec. So let's just do some work now, team. Let's land this plane in terms of you thinking about, it's similar to the referral relationship, but slightly different. Again, just thinking about who could you collaborate with on projects to make yourself seem or appear bigger, to get your foot in the door to work on bigger projects. So I'll give you 4 minutes to work through page 18, Tim. All right, what I want to do now, team, is just give you some time just to kind of distill everything that you've kind of learnt, thought about, talked about you do a bit of an action plan. So we've covered 5 big ideas. Getting super clear on your ideal client, getting in the right room, building your positioning in the market, referral partnerships and collaboration. So let's give you a couple minutes now. Where is it? Page 20. Probably just the right-hand side. Just I want you to think about those 5 strategies. I'm sure there's a bunch of amazing ideas that you had and things that you could do. Like I said, this is a longer term play. So there's things that you will put in play now that won't bear fruit for 6 or 12 months. But just jot down on the page like what makes sense for you to work on first. Like what are your 3 to 5 big ideas or 3 to 5 big things that you'd like to start to implement in the business, thinking through the lens of strategic business development. All right, ready, set, go. We'll give you a couple of minutes, team. All right. So that is strategic BD done, team. So, excuse me. What do we got? 15-minute break, team. So just there'll be leftover food, tea and coffee outside. So just a 15-minute break, back in the room by 11:45. See you all soon.